It's the old Doctor Who show, episode number 125, The Keys of Marinus.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a jelly, Toby?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows, and the TARDIS would be free of the force field.
Well, the TARDIS is more than a machine. It's a divinity, but a person, you see.
The resulting reaction is ready?
Welcome back to the old Doctor Who show, your tri-weekly classic Doctor Who review podcast. Switching it up today, I'm starting off. I'm Dan, one of your hosts. And who do we have here joining me today?
Hi, Dan. This is Eric. See,
Hey,
you're actually more natural at it. It didn't feel as painfully awkward as when I try to get to that part after you say about the tri-weekly classic Doctor Who podcast. Are you supposed to, am I introducing myself? Am I introducing you?
Right.
What do I work for you? Like, there's that whole, it's a whole lot of layers.
He does work for me, but he hasn't been paid in 5 years?
I have not been paid
6 years.
For this podcast. I just want to point that out. Although, you can go to my Ko-Fi and throw me some money for the wonderful times you're having. You can find a link to that on twitter.com/egrissom. Give me a follow the link, go to my link tree, buy some books, download some games, throw some money at the machine. Dan,
Do you people believe this? We start off the show, and this is what he does?
I think we should start off the show with an ad for something I'm trying to sell.
Always.
Goblin available now.
At least
no, Dan,
one of
we're
us
not,
is creating things.
Yeah,
and
we're not here to peddle my wares.
Are we not?
We're kind of are, because why? I already explained that there's no payment coming from you.
None.
There's no check from
None.
Dan Johnson Industries to greet me at my mailbox. There's just, sad ads for off-brand meats that are for sale at whatever new fast food joint has opened in the neighborhood. Hey, we use Grubhub. You know what I'm talking about, Dan? If you go out now and you get any kind of takeout, there's this sadness because you're always behind some poor Grubhub or what are the other
Uber
ones?
Eats,
Eats, whatever driver, and they're on their
Seamless.
phone and they're just getting waffle fries for who knows. It's the saddest. We've created such a sad society.
Is there a taxonomy of saddest to least sad? I mean, it feels like to me maybe Uber Eats is the least sad, and like TaskRabbit or what's the one?
I don't even know what TaskRabbit is. Yeah,
DoorDash.
Like that's like an interest. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I would like a movie like Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
But set up with people that deliver your food, and then like all the inner politics, of this person looks down on this person because he's DoorDash, and the guy from what do you say, TaskRabbit? He's going to go crazy and
I'm not even sure.
cleanse the streets.
I guess you could have.
I think that's a great idea, Dan. It's a delivery driver that also hunts. Serial killer who delivers your food.
Okay, this is because you just read through A Doll's House and Sandman, isn't it?
I did.
That's why it's serial killers.
I've been plowing through Sandman.
Same here.
The Sandman comic. So I have the absolute editions. I am on the 3rd volume. So I am just starting the brief live storyline. So I did A Doll's House several weeks ago, but in Sandman years ago. Yeah, because that's where you are, right? You're starting it or ending it?
Halfway through, maybe, Doll's House right now.
Right.
Oh, man, we're going to save this for our other podcast.
Yeah, I think...
But, I mean, Doll's House is one of my favorite story arcs. I love Gilbert's
All right, don't even talk about it.
Irrational.
Dan, after we're done... Dan!
I love Fiddler.
Cut his mic. Speaking of podcasts, Dan, I have been doing a podcast about Doctor Who for a number of years. It concerns
Why is this the
itself-
first time I'm hearing about it?
I know, I'm bad at promoting it.
Okay.
It's called The Old Doctor Who Show. It stars you and me.
Yeah, right.
And the latest episode...
Stars. You're using the word stars really liberally here.
Yeah. The latest... Dan, you are a star. We all know it. Dan,
Perfect.
the latest episode
Yeah.
is about the Keys of Marinus.
Oh,
you
is
should
that-
really listen to it.
Is that the one that we're doing right now?
That's happening right now.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard.
So-
it was all over Twitter.
Yeah. So why don't you hit the button...
Yep.
and we will step out of our consciousness and let a computer decide. So Dan, hit the button here.
About time. All right.
Woo-doo! No. Lady Dreams.
Glasses, Chesterton.
Can I have some orange juice, please?
Why not? Help yourself. There's plenty more. Now, child, don't take it all. We must leave some for Barbara when she wakes up.
Yeah, Barbara. She really is having a deep sleep, isn't she?
What's the matter?
Oh, this. Oh, I don't know. Just a sort of mild irritation on the forehead. It's nothing at all.
No, there's nothing there. I only mention it because I have rather a sore spot here myself.
Oh.
Oh, look! Look, Grandfather, it's my dress. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's beautiful, look.
It really is very elegant, Susan.
Can I show Barbara? Can I wake her up?
Why not? She can't sleep all the morning.
Barbara?
This is the Keys of Marinus, Dan. This is the fifth story from the first season, Lucky Number 1. That's where all the magic began. Of the show Doctor Who, which you and I are a part of. It was directed by...
We're a part of Doctor Who?
Yeah, honestly now,
Didn't know
if
that.
we're not written in some capacity to
Eric?
novelization, to an erotic poem, to something that someone out there is doing, you need to...
We might feature heavily in that miniseries Flux, because I haven't watched it yet.
You
I
haven't
don't know.
watched it, and
I don't
I'm
know.
waiting the
Maybe
4
we're-
years until it pops up on HBO Max. No, this is directed by John, what is it, Gary?
Gory.
Gory, and written by Terry Nation of Daleks fame. We all know Terry Nation. The Doctor, Susan, and Babs, and of course Ian, who is dressed in, he's wearing some kind of silk dragon robe, which reminded me instantly of one of my favorite characters from the movie Best in Show.
God, yes.
You know, when
Yeah.
it's, what's his name? I can't think of the actor's name. Should have looked that up. But he's with Michael McKean's boyfriend, and there's a scene when they're like getting ready for the night before, and he's in a similar like robe,
Kimono, yeah, he's in
and they're
a-
watching TV and they're talking about their competition.
John
That's a great scene.
John Michael Higgins.
John Michael Higgins, who's awesome, who also played David Letterman in
We're
the
gonna
Late
be there.
Shift.
We're going to be there for 2 nights. Do you need all this? Yeah, I need more kimonos.
Yes. Love him. He's a great guy. I'm sorry I messed your name up. But yeah, so Ian's got his gear on. So anyway, it turns out they go to see an island paradise that turns out to be a death trap. The island is surrounded by acid, and it's under constant attack by a group of people that called themselves the Verd, which is a very comic booky name for like a supervillain group. I thought I enjoyed the name the Verd, or it could be like a Star Trek. I've never watched Star Trek, but I imagine people are always worried about the Verd. They're after a supercomputer consciousness, Dan, that's been directing their civilization for millennia. And in order to start up the machine again, I don't know why they're starting up the machine again. It doesn't seem like they're ready to make it Verd-proof, but they're looking for the keys, 5 of them, which is convenient because there's 6 episodes, so we have plenty of time to find 5 keys. Dan, what did you think of the Keys of Marinus? If I'm pronouncing that correctly, of course I am. I watched I watched this. I did not watch it. I don't know why you're saying that.
Why do I keep saying that? I mean, just because you mispronounced Verds. I think it's Vords.
Is it Vords?
I think it's
I
Vords.
don't know.
Who cares?
It's the verb. You
the
remember the verb. Yeah, go on.
Verb pipe? Verb. Okay.
Verve Pipe. Yeah, Verve Records
Right.
Velvet Underground, several of their LPs were on Verve Records. You're thinking about the Verve Pipe, right? Who got sued because they had sample from something.
Talking about obscure 90s bands. Let's. Do you want to talk about Sub Pop for a while? Okay.
Yes.
I actually that's our other podcast. We're going to drop another episode into the feed where we just talk about Sub Pop.
We're just going to review the Sub Pop Singles Club. I'm a big fan of the Headcoats. Dan, please get us through here before we start talking about Tad.
Tad? I don't think I know Tad.
Was it Seven Way Santa? Was that the name of it? It doesn't matter. Dan,
you're winning. You're winning by heart. What did I think of this? I actually kind of enjoyed this story. Yeah. Okay, so it's a 6-parter. We all know that six is too many parts for anything. But what's nice about it is it's one of those stories where every episode they're going to someplace different. The characters break up into smaller groups, so you're spending time with different characters at different times, and I liked them all. Of course, we love coming back to seeing Ian and Babs. It's a classic pairing. It's peanut butter and chocolate. It's the best. I love the Doctor in this story. He seems so much. I know this is only the 5th story. It feels like a later version of this Doctor where he's less crotchety and irascible, and he just seems more kind and funny and easygoing. Maybe it's because halfway through this production, William Hartnell left for vacation, and that's why he wasn't into the stories. Maybe that made him feel better. But just the writing of the character, he just feels like a much friendlier first Doctor than we see in the very beginning of this. I still have problems with Susan. She's just written so strangely.
I will save a lot of this for my own thing, but everybody hates Susan. They spend a lot of time with people, she's like, can I go with you? And the Doctor's like, no, I don't think it's a very good idea. And then later, Ian does the same thing. She's like, can I go with you? He's like, nobody wants you, Susan. Go scream in the screaming forest for a while. Yeah, I feel bad for Susan, but she doesn't bring a lot to the table in terms of her character other than being hysterical.
Apparently, in the little scant research that I did do, the actress said that she was really displeased with how Susan was written in this serial specifically. Yeah. She said she was felt like it was written like a child describing her character as pathetic, and that is 100% true. She screams so many times. Her shoe drops into acid and it melts, and she screams as though she's just had like a limb ripped off. She screams like it's just ridiculous. Crying into Barbara's shoulders. Like, there's just times I expect Barbara's eyes to roll out of her head whenever Susan's just like crying on her chest.
No, she is a burden. Like, she is a burden to everyone involved in the making of this.
Except for times when she I think this character's so inconsistently written. There are times when she is actually useful. Not necessarily in this story, but she's kind of a genius and is able to come up with clever solutions. But in this one, she's just she was the only thing that really let me down. I liked all the secondary characters. What was it? Do you want to get them on mic? Do you want to
Can you guys pull up? Pull up. Give me your thoughts on.
We do a mic check on the dogs. I liked Altos and Sabitha. They were pretty cool. At the end, the 5th story, we have or was it 5th and 6th stories? We had the courtroom scenes and everything. So all the the Arbiter and the Inquisitors and whatever, they were all really cool. Overall, this was a huge amount of fun for a 6-parter in this era. So there's a lot of qualifiers there. So I liked it a lot more than I thought. Eric, I don't care what you think. I think we're done with the show. We'll wrap it up. Our next story. No, go ahead. Tell me what you thought about this.
What did I think about the statue that almost grabs your ass? Yeah. I liked it also. I feel like I have the same thoughts as you. Huh. I like a quest, a fetch quest thing. Even, I know that's a common complaint in video games or whatever, but I like that. I like, it goes back to watching G.I. Joe and the Weather Dominator episodes of G.I. Joe where they're pieces of the Weather Dominator. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about? Yes, they're hidden in different locales and they have to go find them. So I like all that stuff. And I thought I like the fact that it's a big overarching story, but each individual serial was its own thing for the most part. The last 2 are really sort of, cleaning up some stuff from a previous one and then adding the whole courtroom thing. But no, I thought it was good. I thought all the cast was good. You mentioned Altoids. When he's first on the scene, he is creepy.
Yes.
He's got like a creepy vibe. He's got no pants on. And hats
No
off
complaints.
to him for being in that snow episode.
No complaints.
Literally nothing below.
That man is all thighs, and there were no problems in this household.
Yes. And I felt like I guess this is the second episode, which was really cool. Mm-hmm. Which is where, they're on this place and all your dreams, and they put like a thing on your head for some reason, whatever. But they abandon Barbara pretty quickly. Where they're like, go off with this weird guy without pants. But now I guess they're sort of under the influence, but Ian he doubts it early. So I'm a little surprised at how easily they were like, just take her away to your quote unquote doctor.
Well, they put the headstones on them, and Barbara's fell off.
They
so
did, yeah.
So
he had already at least had one night of the headstone to start to turn him into a zombie. I thought that was really cool. I love that whole idea of getting these wishes, but it's actually this, the reality that you're in the Matrix type thing is not. When you see Barbara's POV,
I love
they're in
that.
Rags and stuff, but that was really cool. It was
so well done.
Very, very, very good episode, even if that was its own thing outside of this storyline, it would have worked, I thought.
I'd love to... Can we talk about that?
Some of the writing was a little weak, though. I felt like there's a lot of lines and dialogue and I don't know if it's the actors flubbing lines that led to things that are like repeated words and stuff. Like at some point someone says like a deep form of deep hypnosis, and then the next person saying deep, like a lot of the dialogue and stuff felt very clunky. Yeah, I felt anyway. But again, it's hard to tell because there's so many times that, like, especially with Hartnell, he'll just repeat a line or say a line a little bit differently, or then there's another scene where you're not sure if Sabitha is delivering the line oddly, or is she saying the line that Hartnell was supposed to say so that the scene makes sense? Like there's moments like that, so it's hard to tell like what's a script, what's acting, and what's just sort of running out of time.
One thing about that,
yes,
it is interesting because you do mention like the flubbing of lines, and Hartnell obviously being notorious for stumbling over his lines, and they can't afford to do retakes, so that it just airs that way. But apparently, and this is again from the scant research I did, I noted the one time when Hartnell says, "I can't improve at this very moment," and it goes back and says, "I can't prove it at this very moment." So it's this big flub, and it's really obvious. But according to the DVD track, Terry Nation actually wrote the stumble into the script intentionally.
Oh,
but
why?
I don't.
Okay,
I don't.
fine.
It doesn't serve any purpose. So like, it's more charming to me because I love Hartnell in that kind of way, where it just like kind of goes with it. Something doesn't come out right, and he just fixes it and keeps going. But I don't know why it would have been written that way. Anyway, maybe it's not true, but that's apparently what it says in the DVD track. Anyway,
who is the main bad? Not the main bad. Well, he's kind of a bad guy, even though he's not a bad guy. The keeper of the computer. What's that guy's name?
Arbidon.
Arbidon.
Yeah.
Arbidon. I get it. I had terrible bug infestation until I called Arbidon.
Yeah.
No, he when he does his little soliloquy after they leave, it reminded me so much of "Pull the String" in Ed Wood.
Oh God!
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've only seen that once. Yeah.
Yeah, with Bela Lugosi is yelling,
Pull the string! Pull the string!
Anyway, he was cool, but he like locks the TARDIS in, so he's like, that's not very cool. They're really prisoners to him.
Yeah.
And then there's Ian makes a decision early with no knowledge of who the quote unquote bad guy is, because he pretty much throws a guy to his death. He throws one of those Daft Punk looking dudes. That's like, that guy's attacking the old guy who previously had already attacked Barbara and everyone else and had them as prisoners, and just tosses him down the pit.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess you made the right call, because if it was the other way.
I actually thought that at the very beginning, as obviously the Vords were dressed in a certain way, the Daft Punk, but dressed in a certain way to make them look like they were the bad guys, and there's this mysterious monk-looking figure in white robes.
Yeah.
So obviously bad guy, good guy. But I did wonder, like, oh, maybe he did make the wrong choice, and this wasn't, they're on the wrong side. But of course, no, they didn't go that crazy with it. I do love the design of the Vord's helmet. Like,
it was cool.
The wetsuit part, okay, that's kind of silly.
It was
with
insect-like. It felt very much like an insect feel.
Insect, reptile, sort of something going on. It was much more elaborate than I would expect to see, and felt much more solid. You tend to see like some of these costumes where it's like the rubber costumes that are kind of like falling apart almost. This looked really good. I liked them. Apparently, they were also... The idea here, it's Terry Nation, and he had huge success with the Daleks. They wanted to create another enemy that people will be like, oh my god, they're just as good as the Daleks, and cause the same sort of sensation over it and have toys and whatever. Never happened.
Is this the only appearance of this race?
In these TV serials, I believe so. Then there were novelizations and comics that explain more about them.
Yeah,
apparently
it was cool. I mean, I
like an alien race that came to this planet and took advantage of it because everyone was subdued by the computer and there was no violence on the planet.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, apparently that's what was explained in some of the novelizations.
So that comes from the novelization, because I got the impression...
They shared the planet or something?
That it was the same people on the planet. It's just like, there's garbage people and garbage is going to rise, and eventually... Because they say, like, someone, these people eventually learned how to overcome the computer as if they were just part of the society, and after 1,000 years, eventually evolution changed
I'm not sure how strict...
Who knows? I mean, that sounds like a...
With the continuity between the two, I'm not sure that it really matters. I thought that they were just, humanoids that looked just like everyone else, but they were just wearing masks. But I don't know if those were helmets or if that's actually part of their faces. I'm not sure what was meant there.
Right. Well, because these are such individualized stories, I almost feel like we have to tackle them as separate stories.
Absolutely.
So with the first... this first one we sort of kind of covered everything, right? I mean, there's... this is another classic dumb Grissom observation. But when it said Keys of Marinus, and then you saw the beach, and I was like, oh, those keys. Like, thinking like Florida keys.
Like islands, gotcha.
Like, they're not actual keys. Clever. But it turns out they're
actually keys. I like that, though. That's nice.
But I didn't mind, like, the miniature stuff, like, it's totally charming. It's a little goofy, but it's fine. Like, the little toy boats, like the little submarine things. Yeah. They were interesting design, though.
Apparently, this is the first time we see a TARDIS model materialize.
Yeah,
I mean, it was cute. It was nice.
Would we say it was the third episode, or the third story, or fifth?
Fifth story. Yeah, something.
But still first season.
First season. So that was actually pretty cool. I felt the same way about the models. Like, they're charming. They're not super effective, but they have their own sort of, like, something.
And we don't get many models beyond the first story, or first episode of this arc, right?
Well, no, that's not true. We get them later in the, what is it called? The Snows of Terror. We see, like, in the distance, a quarter mile away,
a
little cabin with the smoke.
Right. Yep.
So you just see that. There's a couple other ones, but that's the main one. I think that the model island was most effective, actually, in the final shot at the end, when they're pulling back, and you see the pyramid, and it goes back, and like, as soon as you get into a really wide shot of the island, the model actually looks very good.
I thought, like,
very nice.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I thought the main story conceit of a computer that they kept improving upon, and then eventually the humans became so dependent on a machine. This is,
but it was even more than that.
This is pre-Butlerian Jihad, mind you. This is when humanity relied too much on the machines.
Sure.
Before the Mentats. But no, I like that. I thought that was all really cool. And that they dismantled the machine because there was the concern that this group that's, impervious to its influence or whatever. But I did not really understand why he's collecting the keys now. Because he's not destroying them unless they can't, like... Did he know, like, what were they going to do if the good guy, quote-unquote good guy, got the keys? Because it doesn't work on the bad guys.
So I have to be honest. I didn't quite get that either. He needed to get the keys in order to restart the machine so that they could. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe there was a line that I missed where he was like, "I figured out how to do it."
Yep.
Now I need to get the keys back. All I have to do is carry the 2, and it's going to work again. But
or
even the doctors,
because the machine isn't just like writing down. It started off as like it's the rule maker, and it determines the laws, and people are going to follow it. And turned into like this mind control thing that actually it wasn't just like people became reliant on it. They had no choice. They were under its influence entirely. So I was wondering to see, did he want to bring it back online because then he could help control the people so they could fight back against the Vort? Like, like you, I feel like I must have just missed a line because I don't understand why he's making them do it. Anyway.
It's weird. Again, like, so this is all part of...
Was he getting the keys just so the Vords couldn't get them?
Well, he was doing it so the Vords couldn't get them, but he does say, just, like, when you bring it back, like, if things go wrong, destroy the keys. But, like, if the whole point was to destroy the keys, which, then just find the key and break it when when you're done. But, like, he had a plan to try to get them for himself because they were going to improve the machine again, I guess. I don't know. The overarching thing, again, each one of these individual stories really does stand on its own, and if we jump into the second one especially, trying to really figure out how that squares with this race of two-eyed prongs that look like the little things, the Daniel Johnston creature with the stalks and the eyes at the end of it. Like, who are they? Like, where did they were like, they had evolved to the point where they didn't need their bodies, but like...
They were just brain slugs.
Right, so...
I don't know.
What's that? What are they about? Why aren't they really interested in the key? Do they know about the key? Like, they're not even really concerned about the keys. The keys are just a thing that they get at the end as like a prize, right?
Yeah. They don't... Okay, again.
They're not using the power of the computer in any way to create these illusions.
Okay,
are they?
So in the second story... They come to this place, Morphoton, City of Dreams. And
it feels very much like the Romans, right, where Babs is lying out and there's people feeding her grapes and everything.
She goes ahead of them by maybe 30 seconds. She uses her wristwatch thing. 30 seconds. She's already laying there eating grapes, completely dry. I mean, it makes sense because...
And just ordering people around. Right. Like, without even a qualm or a moment of hesitation.
They
She's like,
want me to order these things. It makes them
This
happy.
cap is Luke. Yeah.
Yes. Lukewarm, Chris. But then it kind of makes sense because they're all under this kind of hypnosis. They don't quite understand. So in the overarching story, there's a computer that controls all people's consciousness and tells them what to do. But then in this little second story, a similar thing is happening, but in a different way with these brain stalks that are causing people to see things differently. But they're using some sort of device. They have the stones they put on their heads. They have this control room where all the brains are under glass, but they have this big machine. And that, jumping ahead, whenever Barbara runs in there and breaks them all, that's where they find the keys. So maybe the key was powering this.
I guess.
Just locally.
I guess you're right because the key was,
but it wasn't explained. I don't know.
That's a good point because that is where the key is.
Right.
So maybe that's had corrupted it or somehow used. But the keys are explained as little microprocessors or something. So I guess there's something to them, but it doesn't really operate the machine that creates all this stuff. That's on the island, right? So otherwise,
so maybe
it's all fine. Doesn't matter.
In Morphoton, they kind of maybe retrofitted it. They had the keys, so they built the thing around it that they could whatever. Yes,
I thought that story was great though because like they started out and your expectation is Ian is going to be the hero. He's the one that doesn't trust everything right away. Mm-hmm. Everyone else is duped, but it really becomes Barbara's story, and she's like out. Although most of the time she's hiding behind a wall. In the jail cell, but where they can't find her. But it was still cool because at least it was her, and she's the one that destroys all the stuff. So it's like her whole thing, and it's totally complete, contained. And the illusion's broken. Once the things are, everyone riots, and they just split and leave a bloody aftermath, whatever is going to be happening in that nightmare city after they leave. But I thought that was cool.
One of the details I liked...
and the daughter, right? We find out that
Sabetha there.
Sabetha is the daughter of the guy that had gone ahead.
Now...
the guy who was in charge.
Right, he had sent her out to find
Yes.
Altoids. Sent her to find, the keys. I did like the detail that was it Barbara that picked this up that she noticed that no one was there. No one there in Morpherton blinked.
Yes, yeah. I think it was Ian. Was it Ian?
Okay.
I think
you're
early.
right.
Yeah,
Notice that, and it was very cool because if you do watch, there's extended, 30, 45 seconds where it's like, nope, they are not blinking.
Yeah,
They're doing
and
a
that's what
real
makes
good
him
job.
so unnerving.
creepy. So
when you
creepy.
see him, though, he's just like staring at you, and you see all the whites of his eyes around. He's like, that guy is a murderer, and he's got
Yep.
no pants on, which is fine.
It's totally fine.
but it's a lot sometimes.
He's got great gams, and he knows how to use them.
It was good though. I mean, I thought that was like a cool little, totally unexpected. And these civilizations are so vastly different.
Yeah.
Especially when we jump to the next one, it's like nothing is quite. Doesn't seem like it all exists within the same planet, but
Right.
if you look at Earth and different cultures and everything, it all kind of makes sense too.
Yeah, but there are very few countries on planet Earth where people have evolved into brain stalks with slugs for eyes. But it's fun.
It seems like a lot of work, though, for these. Also, they also reminded me of like Kodo and what's the other, the Simpsons aliens that are in every.
Oh yes.
Halloween special.
Yeah.
But like, so they spend all of this effort into fooling people into relaxing so they can make them slaves. Mm-hmm. But what are they really doing? Because you don't see a lot of like mining or work or
power.
They're mostly
sake
just
of power.
getting more people. They're mostly just doing errands for new. It's like they're spending all of their energy making dishes or whatever they're doing. Although I guess it's just garbage food anyway. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's fine. It was good. I liked it. I liked it.
It's like in the Lost Boys when he's not
yeah. They're only noodles, Michael.
They're not noodles. It's maggots.
Yeah. Or is it noodles? We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, that's the vampire mind stuff. That's why they're so handsome. But maybe they're not.
Maybe
that's
not.
the thing. They're horribly ugly.
Nope.
You know what I mean? Vampires.
So anyway, at the end of the
DoorDash, you're dead. No, that's not it. We'll figure something out. I'll come up. No, so are you done? Are you?
I just got.
Are you done with this?
So yes,
this
but
story?
moving on from this episode to the next one.
Very cold.
But they do the same thing. Where in between the first and the second, Barbara jumps ahead of them.
Yep.
And in this one, Susan's like, "I'm out," and she pieces out.
Oh
first.
yeah. So it's not the
like,
winter one. It's
why
this,
do you keep?
Is it the
the
screaming? Is it the
screaming
screaming jungle next?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And
Yep.
the doctor does say, "Oh, I guess this has happened in the first story. We didn't mention." The doctor says, "I'm going to go ahead to look for this other guy." So he skips ahead 3 jumps.
Yeah, like
instead.
it's almost like you're not going to be in the rest. Like he's not. He eventually is gone at this moment, and you don't see him till much later, until the courtroom one.
Yep.
Right, which is
That's
5.
right.
So
Yeah.
I thought that. I mean, I guess that's kind of strange for him to be the star of his own show first season, and he's sort of removed.
So apparently, like I said, he did go on vacation for for 2 of the episodes, so episodes 2 and 3 and 4. He still got on-screen credit because that was in his contract, but he had been working nonstop for months up to this point. So anyway, it was just interesting. Yeah, there was no doctor, and it didn't really, not that he wouldn't have brought something to it, but it was
fine.
Interesting to see it without the doctor there and everyone else.
Well, there were so many people. It was helpful too, because now you've got these 2 new companions essentially.
Okay.
To deal with.
So
Altos
we're in the
and
screaming
Sabitha.
jungle with Altoids and Sabitha's there. What did you think of this story? So we have this jungle planet. Some experiment has happened that has caused nature to rapidly evolve much quicker, and the destructive force of nature is unleashed. And
This was my least favorite of the lot, I think.
yeah,
Personally.
between this one and the Snows of Terror, I didn't really like.
Well,
either
the
of them
Snows
that
of
much.
Terror is just scary in a different way, because it's just like this predator that's got Barbara locked it. Like he literally locks the door. Like it's really a little heavy-handed in the implications. But we'll get to that one.
But yeah, this there's not a whole, except for I did like the production design, and you have Ian and Altoids and Sabitha go off and looking around to find a way in. Ian just tells Barbara to stay put, and of course she goes wandering into the.
I know.
Crack in the wall.
And I blame Ian. Like she's literally in trouble, Ian. And even after she screams, he's still like messing around with stuff. I mean, I guess he's trying to get a weapon or something before he gets locked into the thing.
Yeah.
But is this before or after the hands that you think are going to go on the rear, but they're not? They're just on the thighs.
Just lovingly caressing the thighs.
But it's just weird because it is literally a guy is behind the scenes like. Now? Do I do it now? Okay, do it now.
It is so obvious that from the very first time you see the statue, the hands, you're like, okay, those hands are going to move because you can kind of see them shaking a little bit. I like that design, though. It was really cool. And
it was cool.
Climbing up there and finds the decoy key, whatever.
Yes.
I guess.
That part was cool, too, because you're like, oh, we have it, but then no, we don't have it. And I like temples, and I like secret passages and all of that stuff.
Right.
But I felt like whatever the main story on that, like I don't know, it was a little weak. And then even like the trees coming through at the end, like the vines or whatever attacking them, and you know, they have that little bit of a dilemma about like, did Barbara go forward or not go forward? I don't know about you. When that was going on, I was thinking like, were they like not good either? Like I wasn't sure about how like
could we actually trust
Altus
them?
and Sabitha, like I didn't quite know if they were 100% legit or if they were actually looking to steal the key and whatever. It was good. I mean, it was interesting. That concept is interesting too, because if you're only jumping forward, you would never know if that person's dead or if they need your help, and they could be forward, and you're wasting your time. So it was cool.
Yep, and they find an old hermit there that's, I guess, the scientist and knows about these experiments. They read through his. It was just fun. It was really, there just wasn't much to it.
No, it was
the most forgettable story.
Weak, I think.
All right, so we can just
and like the screaming jungle part that happens immediately, right? Because you mentioned that, so it starts with Susan. Like we keep mentioning Susan, but other than Susan's hearing the screaming jungle, and then everyone like, "Are you okay?" I don't remember what she did through the entirety. Other than we talked about, like, she really wanted to go with the doctor when he went ahead, and he was like, no we got to split up. And they're like, split up. There's one of you going here and everyone else going the other side, but it's not, whatever. What did she do? Away. I don't remember what she did that whole story.
No, nothing that I can recall. So if it was anything, it wasn't important. The other thing about it, too, is the title of the story is The Screaming Jungle, but they keep talking about the whispering when the whispering starts. Yeah. First of all, it doesn't sound like whispering. It also doesn't sound like screaming. But I don't know why the vegetation is making noise.
It doesn't make any sense.
Okay. It was just a silly story.
It was like a good idea. I felt like it just wasn't completely fleshed out. Like he's just going through his notebook of ideas and just throwing whatever.
Apparently, there was a claim of plagiarism surrounding this.
Is that true?
As well, yeah. Well, it's as true as the internet says it is. But that someone had submitted a story that talked about the vegetation becoming a dominant form of life on a planet, and that story wasn't used. But then they said that, hey, you stole it for this one. Doesn't matter. But anyway, it was the weakest story, I thought. Anyway.
Yep, then we go to the cold planet, not the cold planet, it's the same planet, the cold area.
Snows of Terror.
Yep, where you find, it starts out and Barbara's going down. She is out of energy and Ian is trying to hold her together and they seem like they're doomed.
Frozen.
And then they go from one frying pan into another frying pan, because then they end up with the creepy Hagrid. They're at creepy Hagrid's house.
Yep.
And that was a weird scene. And like that, really, like if you turn this into a straight horror movie, that would have been great, especially when she finds the keys, the necklaces of Sabitha and everyone else, and then it's like, oh, that was really cool. It didn't get as dark. I mean, it gets pretty dark.
That is pretty dark.
It's pretty dark. But they don't quite go where they're pretty much implying everything's going. But it was good. Yeah. You just said you didn't like this one. It was like problematic.
Yeah,
I guess. But
it was better
Ian
than
abandoning Barbara. But like, what else is he going to do? But why couldn't they go together? I don't know why Barbara stayed. It's all. I wouldn't have let. Hey, I wouldn't have let. I know Barbara can handle herself. Believe me. Believe me, I know. But I would not have been comfortable leaving her with that creep.
I do like that the creep gave Ian a bag of raw meat to take with him.
Yes.
That's pretty funny. It's just really, wow.
But they make him a hardcore villain, and he doesn't change from that. But then they start hanging out, like they're going with him, and he's part of their crew. Eventually, he gets rid of the.
They force him to, but
he gets rid of the bridge. But like, I don't know. They felt like they were a little too trusting of the guy who's proven themselves to be completely unreliable, and then he ends up proving that to them later.
Right. I do like the setup in the cave where you have the key is trapped in a block of ice to keep it safe, and it's surrounded by 4 frozen guards, I guess, which was interesting. I mean, I don't know,
assuming ghost guards of some kind,
something like that. And there was just a pipe there. If you turn the valve, it just like it's not much of a system to guard it, right? Like you would assume, like, oh, then the guards are going to wake up before the block of ice melts to help guard the key, but that's not what happens. It was a strange thing to happen. I mean, I also didn't like the whole, like, they had the rope bridge, and that's fine, and then he throws the bridge down.
Yeah.
Evil Hagrid does, and there's trapped on the other side, so they have to, like, break down stalactites and tie them together to crawl across. Like that. Yeah,
they did. I don't
know.
There's elements of each of these that are a little like meh. And I am surprised too, like, for an overarching story that involves people. Again, let's talk about the Weather Dominator episode of G.I. Joe.
Heck yeah.
It's about 2 teams competing to get the thing at the location, but we never see Daft Punk again. Like in any of these little stories where they're overcoming some obstacle within that world or realm or whatever. But there's never like agents of even
Shield.
Like in the trial when Ian's framed for murder, they're using the key to sell it. Like it's not like they're in with the like there's all these ways that they could have tied it in, or they get to the cave and the other group is already there. None of that happens. You never see them again.
From the beginning, from the first story, as soon as our friends take off on the hunt for the keys, the guy is killed. Arbiton's killed by one of the Vords. So I think they were just expecting everyone to go get the keys for them and bring it back.
I guess.
Just collect the keys at the end. But
I just feel like it's a missed opportunity for
storytelling.
For the story to really tie into their motivations and everyone else. It's fine.
Right. I gotcha. I don't know. Anyway, there's not a whole lot going on in that story either. Snows of Terror. I mean,
no, but I agree with you. Like, I like the ghost. I'm going to pretend they're ghosts, the ghost guards and everything. And then a violent death for Hagrid. He gets it right in the back when, once again, does he have Susan? Or is it Barbara?
They're all in the.
No, at the end, like they're on the cabin.
Oh, he has
Hagrid has his back to the door. He grabs Susan or Barbara.
I believe. I think it's Susan.
Yeah, and then he gets literally stabbed in the back. It's probably Susan because that's all her role is to be in trouble and need help.
Yep.
But yeah, it was okay.
Yep.
I thought it was a little bit better than the previous one. They're all good ideas. Like, the whole thing has very good ideas.
It's just some of them are executed better than others. Some are just a little bit clumsy.
Well, where we go, Dan, is probably my favorite because I feel like we've never really seen a courtroom drama that felt like, it could be an episode of the Rockford Files or something where... the Ian is framed for this crime, and it's like they got to get evidence, and like that was cool. I was not expecting that at all, and each of these are so different. So it's like really you go from one thing to the other. But I liked all of it.
This one especially. This one was strange because the very end of the previous story, you see someone jump to the next place. You get your little teaser, but it was the strangest jump cut to get into this one where Ian's just like in what looks like an art heist or something like that.
Yes.
And they don't know what's going on. There was just absolutely no thread.
Yeah, it's like a TV mystery. You get you don't know who it is. You just see that gloved black hand moving in and stealing the thing. But you're right. You're totally... Like, where? What?
I honestly felt like I missed something. But
did it skip an episode?
Right. So we have kind of a locked room mystery. Ian's in this room. He sees that there's a body on the ground with a weapon beside it. He sees the key in a display case, goes to look at it, gets whacked over the head. He gets knocked out, gets framed for the murder of the other guy. Then our
oh wait,
friends...
hold on. I just had to back up. I had my notes, which cracked me up. It cracked myself up. Not hard to do. When Ian and Barbara first got in Hagrid's cabin and he closed the door, I just wanted him to just look at them and go, "You're both my wives now." I don't know. That's all. You can go back to the... I don't know. It just seemed like, and then the rest of the show would just be them living together. But Dan, go on to the break-in, the art theft.
No, I'm really grateful for that.
I'm glad I derailed the topic, the discussion really to helpful. Talk about. You're both my wives now.
Okay, so sister wives, Susan and Barbara. Okay, so we're here. This is when the Doctor comes back. The Doctor gets to do his
And
best.
did you have a moment of like, oh right, he's in it?
Well,
because I forgot that he had gone ahead. Like,
that's exactly
because it was so long ago that like you
Yes.
went through a couple episodes, and then you're like, oh right, he went 4 places ahead or whatever they said
to whatever it was, like the civilized society.
Yeah,
was this place. So the Doctor gets to do his like Murder She Wrote or Columbo act, which is fun. So he gets to be the like a lawyer for the defense of Ian. Ian's framed. We have we have a couple different what do you want to call them? Like the guards or the Inquisitors. So you have like Taryn there. I thought it was an interesting concept. You have this courtroom drama, and they have this very rigid, the burden of innocence is put on the person. Yeah. They are assumed to be guilty.
Right. You're guilty until proven innocent.
Exactly. So I thought it was a lot of fun. We had, I know it comes a little bit later. It comes, I guess, revealed in the 6th episode, but you have kind of this plan to steal the key that Ian just kind of wandered into, so they decide to use him to their benefit. So you're not sure who is actually involved in this plot behind the scenes. And I thought it was the guard that first interrogates Ian. I thought, obviously he's the bad guy, but it wasn't him. It was one of the other kind of guard guys.
Right, and the wife too.
His wife.
Yeah, I thought was great. I did not really see that coming, that
not
it was going to be her. So I thought that was very cool.
We do try to talk about like the representation of women in these stories, and they tend to be either not represented at all, and it's entirely male cast, or they're just damsels in distress. In this overall serial, we have Sabitha, who has goes from one extreme of being completely enslaved to having kind of some agency and working to help them. Susan is who she is. Barbara's just as strong as always. But then you have this other woman who just seems like she's the grieving widow.
Yeah, and her heel turn was great, like where she just starts laughing. Oh, yes. Yes. Although you don't see it.
It could be
so maybe she hit him. You don't know. That was strange. I forgot about that, and that was like not really necessary. Like I don't know why they had that little bit of her getting hit, other than to say he was a bad guy. But then they tried to portray him sympathetically because
make you not feel bad that he got killed.
I don't know. That was a little strange. So I'm going to pretend that she's hitting him, but she cries when she does it because she hates
what he did. He makes her do it.
Yeah, look what you made me do. Exactly,
That's
Dan.
horrible.
Yeah,
horrible.
Way to bring the podcast down.
She did have a good. This got a good heel turn. But I guess it's interesting that she doesn't have to be this virtuous woman and still be a strong.
No, yeah, and I thought she was good, and I thought she was a great villain. And then you have the whole. How did she know? Kind of like the realization that how did she know this one detail when they have, of course, Susan captured. Thought that was all good.
Yep.
The episode felt like it needed to be like an hour episode and have both parts in it, because I thought we're not on the last episode yet, but that was weaker, only because you still have to spend all this time finishing the 5th story, and then it moves into this post-ending where you get all the other business, but we'll get to that later.
Right.
It was good, and I like how the Doctor gives everyone something to do. So like Altoids and Sabitha, like you guys research, go to the library and figure out all the cases about this, and then Barbara and what's her name? I can't even think of her name. Susan. Right? They're going to be like looking around and trying to find evidence or whatever, and the doctor's going to do whatever the doctor does. And Ian, who's usually always sort of in charge, is taken completely out of it, as he's just sort of a prisoner and has to just sit there and hope that they can get him out. So that was a cool little change of dynamic.
Yeah.
For the story. It was good. I liked this one. This was probably my favorite of the 6.
Yeah, I mean, you said it kind of right.
Because it was different.
5 and the first quarter or so of 6, or 5 in the first half of 6, are really kind of that one story. It gets all wrapped up, and they reveal that how what is that? I don't know. One of those classic mysteries, like, how did the locked room mystery? How did the guy get the thing out of the thing? It was frozen. Yeah, whatever. It's just one of those mystery.
It was
box
hidden
things.
in the, you find out it's hidden in the weapon,
in the weapon,
in the hand of the weapon, which the doctor's like, I knew the whole time. It's like you could have shared that bit,
and using the decoy key and all that. That was pretty good. Okay, so then we get back to the final. We go back to the island.
They get a lot of use out of that decoy key. Right, because that comes up
Features
later
prominently
in
in 2 stories. Well, 3 stories, 3 of them. So they go back to the planet, or back to the island, not knowing that
what's his face is already dead.
Arbiton's dead.
Yeah, and there's that he's in like an old man, at least like in his hood, and then it's a very strange little
It's so contrived.
It's very weak.
The helmet's so huge. Then you have that giant robe hood over it, and you can't come near me because the machine has made me sick. So just throw the key on the ground.
Right, and that I saw it coming a mile away. Like you're like it's the fake key or whatever. But it still was cool to see them use it.
You saw it coming a mile away. I'm just in it moment to moment.
Okay.
Not trying to look at it. I was like, why did Ian give him the key? But no, Ian's smarter than I am.
Yeah, he is.
I didn't know he had that. Anyway, nothing happens.
The ending is weak.
They plug in the fake key and it blows
up. They mention that the fake key is going to make it blow up, and then the doctor or whatever. It's better this way. I thought the island, like when that last exterior shot of the island, I thought we were going to get a little explosion or something because you don't really see that, but it's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It was good.
It was fun. It was a good wrap up to it. So really, the 5th story was probably my favorite. The wrap up was kind of the weakest. Screaming Jungle, not so great. But yeah, overall, I liked the ideas of kind of a journey going from place to place.
Yes.
It really kept things moving.
I'm a big fan of that.
The thing I always mention with these really overly long stories is they keep going back to the same place over and over again. If someone gets captured, they bring them back. They escape, but they get brought back again. A lot of running around in the same areas. Breaking it up like this makes that not such a problem. So it's fun.
And the fact that each serial was so unique, even in terms of like the subgenre or whatever that it was doing. It was cool. It was interesting. Yeah. I liked it for the most part.
I liked it too. All right.
Do people like it, Dan? I don't know what anyone thinks of this. Do people hate this story or like this story?
Weren't we asked specifically to do this story?
Yes, Hair of the Hound, I believe. Yeah. Or maybe multiple people did. I'm sure multiple people did. But this was we were not supposed to do this story. This is the end of Hartnell for us.
Yeah.
Which, he's grown on me, and I think you probably feel the same way. So it was a good way to say goodbye to him. And it was also cool to be back in the first season and to see sort of that relationship and how it developed. Because this was before the Aztecs, which either is the next one or that was the very first
the one that
thing
we did first.
You and I reviewed.
Right.
So it was kind of interesting to see like them shortly before that.
For some god-awful reason. Yeah. Our schedule at the beginning made very little sense.
Yeah, it was based on Netflix. At that time, Netflix literally had classic Doctor Who. How long ago was that?
And we were trying to do the ones that were the most popular or something. I don't know. Whatever.
Originally, for people following updating the Wikipedia page, it was literally every episode on Netflix, which wasn't many.
Oh, right.
And then it got taken off Netflix, and it was on Hulu.
Right.
And we were like, okay, let's do like whatever's the most important. And we were like looking up lists or whatever. And then it was just like whatever. I think it was on Amazon Prime. Like it was all over the place. And finally, thank Goddess for BritBox.
Yeah, I think there was a time when it wasn't anywhere, and we either had to.
Yeah, I was like, please mail them in. We had to join Netflix DVD Club. I think I did that at one point. Didn't we join Netflix to get the DVDs?
You can also like get them in other places online.
Right.
But anyway, yeah.
That's what happens when you do a show for 7 years or however long it's been.
Christ. Well, let's see.
Well, what people say? Did any listeners write in or
we got a few people. User on Twitter, you can always tweet us at TODW Show. I'll let people know in advance, say, hey, we're about to record something, tell us what you think about it, and you did it yet again, you glorious people. Speaking of glorious, user named 26 Glorious Years says about this story, well, for starters, some wonderful dialogue that sadly didn't make it into the broadcast episode. See below, there's another tweet that's mentioned there. Otherwise, always worth watching alone for Raymond Cusack's superb design work, and the opening model shot is wonderful. So the tweet that they're referencing is another one they wrote that says, another delight of viewing Doctor Who from the start is taking the time to pay close attention to the production minutiae again. The infotext on Marinus, for example, presents an absolute gem, a cut piece of dialogue about why the TARDIS scanner doesn't properly display a color image. And I was reading about this on one of the Wikipedia pages. Apparently in the original script, they do make a reference to the scanner in the TARDIS being in black and white, that it's too bad it doesn't do color. And the Doctor says something along the lines of that is something that he was working on or something like that. Apparently in the original script, the reason why Susan and the Doctor were in England in the first place from the very beginning, before Unearthly Child, because he was going to the BBC.
Really?
To get them to help him turn his black and white scanner into color.
I mean,
the BBC was too secretive.
Right.
And wouldn't give him that information.
Was that in an Unearthly Child or 101 BC or whatever those four were? I can't remember. I know we reviewed it.
I think it was supposed to be in this story to explain why they were there in the very first
I
story.
got you.
But it was not.
It wasn't hooking into something already stated. No, they were adding that. Got
it. They just wanted to visit the BBC to get color TV.
Hey,
which, I mean,
that's where you got to go for it.
Of the era, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it was really cute. So that's cool. Paul Paranoid says there's a very telling interview on the DVD extras with Ray Cusack.
John Cusack's brother.
John Cusack.
And Joan Cusack's brother. Let's be fair.
No one talks about Joan enough.
I do. She's great.
You talk about her.
I always loved Joan Cusack.
Where he's asked if Keys of Marinus has any redemptive qualities at all, and he says no.
Oh, I don't agree with that.
I don't either. I think this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this very much.
You don't ever get a courtroom Doctor Who. Like, that's not something that often happens. I mean, yeah, Trial of the Time Lord, someone's probably screaming, but like, this was more of like a procedural TV show version of a courtroom thing.
But Raymond Cusick is the designer, so maybe from a design point of view, he wasn't happy with it. But the models were good. I love the alien head thing. The brains with eye stalks. That was a little over the top. But yeah, overall, it was nothing to be ashamed of. It was a pretty good story. Okay, anyway, my 2 cents. Let's see. What else do we have here? Misfit Scully says, watch it with an open mind. There are moments when it is bat crazy. What were they smoking? But seriously, I do enjoy the story a lot, and we'll rewatch and post with a comment for the pod, which they did. So in a follow-up tweet, Miss Scully goes on to say, I hope you enjoyed this classic one. One I enjoy. Episode 1 is the best. The Vor desperately trying to walk with scuba fins. And we never talked about the pyramid
the whole
with the revolving walls and the yeah. But yes, they do stumble over their fins a couple of times too, which is kind of crazy. Let's see. glass sand and an acid sea, which was kind of a fun idea.
Yeah, there's lots of talk of glass and
but
sand.
You only see it the one time, and it's like, I don't know what it's really supposed to tell us, but okay. Nice model shot with visible wires pulling the submarine props. Ray Cusack design on a small budget always works. Love it. Yeah, I think like necessity is the mother of invention. I think they did a great job with what they had there. So that was very nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Robert Gill says the Sea of Acid concept was also used in Ridley Scott's Raised by Wolves series on HBO Max.
I haven't watched that show.
Oh,
that's a show about AI or something, probably.
So it's two androids are given the responsibility of raising some human children on another planet. They escaped Earth because it's falling apart and wars and blah, blah, blah. And it's this whole struggle between this atheist sect of which the androids are part and these religious believers and blah, blah. But not only is there this acid sea, also in the new season of Raised by Wolves, in the second season now, there's a whole thing with a society that's controlled by a computer.
Oh!
Not mind control, but the computer actually does all of the thinking for them and tells them what to do and what jobs to take and is their ruler, and they all are subjugated to it. So it's a lot of the same ideas there. So thank you for drawing that connection in two ways there, Robert Gill. Also does point out to us, thank you, that this is the first story where a model of the TARDIS is seen materializing. So that was fun. Let's see. World Enough in Time podcast posted this just under the wire. Thank you, 7 minutes ago, saying this is a lot of fun.
Yep.
Love Babs hitting the brains. She does go off.
She goes crazy with that. Yeah, that was a great scene.
That was a lot of great.
There's some screaming that happens pre-hitting too, and it's like, but it's just, you see it coming, so it's fun.
Yeah. She really winds up and just lets loose.
She's got that murder bloodlust. I mean, we saw her when she was running over Daleks that time in
that's true.
the tractor trailer.
I think that is the through line for Barbara's character growth.
She's got some darkness in her.
Altos and Sabitha are both too sexy to be proper companions. Okay, yep. Susan is useless in the jungle.
Useless in all of them.
To be fair, useless everywhere. So it's not just the jungle. Also, the idol is a bit too gropey and Vassar too rapey. So gropey and rapey, two problems.
Yeah,
in this
you
story.
do get. Yeah, again, you get the creepy Hagrid. That's a whole thing. But yeah, the groping statue as well.
And lastly says this was fun for the whole family. Yep. So thank you folks for responding to that. Yeah, totally agree. This was, I got really worried. I saw it was a heartless story.
It's hard when it's six
episodes.
parts too. Like that's always a drag, no matter who the doctor is.
But it wasn't too bad overall.
No, and because it feels like 5 different stories.
Yes. Yep.
So
this is apparently the first of 35 six-parters. That includes all the way up to New Who. Flux is also 6-parter. But 35 of them. Of the 35 6-parters,
how many did we do?
We must have done 30 of them. Holy moly. So that was fun. Yeah. Anyway, anything else to talk about here?
Yeah, we have a new iTunes review, Dan.
What?
Yes, we do. Thanks to J. Veebs. Now, again, for those new to the podcast, we only have access to the U.S. store at this point. So if you're leaving a review on the UK store or the Australian, whatever country that you're in, we're only able to read the U.S. store for now. Although I think you know some black magic where you're able to access the UK or other country stores. But anyway, in the U.S. store on February 8th, we got a review from Jay Veebs, who writes, great show for enjoying and celebrating classic Doctor Who. I recently subscribed to BritBox, who should be comping our accounts, let's be honest. That's me, not Jay Veebs. I recently subscribed to BritBox and started checking out classic Doctor Who, and the old Doctor Who show podcast has been the perfect companion to my viewing. The podcast is informative, yet fun and lighthearted. Watching classic Doctor Who for the first time decades after its original run has been a lot of fun, and it has been great to it just ends there. The thought was never completed.
That was the last.
I don't know if it was a character limit, or did we lose poor J. Beebs? I hope you weren't leaving a review and driving, so I hope you're okay.
Please.
But yes, so who knows what was coming next, but we thank you for the 5 stars. Those are the perfect and correct amount of stars for a review.
Speaking of that was wonderful. Thank you so much. You're
Thank
right.
you.
I forgot I did have a little bit of dark magic here. And looking at the store from Great Britain, as iTunes would like to call it,
yes,
we did get one from the 2nd of February.
All right, throw that out
from
there.
Agent Doggett, another 5-star review that says, "A guide through the classics. 2 fab hosts that fill me in on episodes that I have no intention of watching."
Now, I would love to be in their head for that. So they're listening to us talk about a show without any context. So that's got to be kind of a unique perspective.
How fun. How fun for them. But we still have to watch them all, so that's fine. But that's it. So thank you so much for
thank you very much.
5-star reviews.
If you want to leave a review, please go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Google, Stitcher, whatever the other ones are, and leave some reviews. Apple, I believe, is the only place you can actually type something, but we appreciate you leaving any reviews or telling people. You can tweet about it or post it on your social media thing.
Tell your aunts.
Tell your friends. While you're out picking up Goblin by Will Perkins and I, you can also be listening to it. But not at the same time. You don't want to be rude if someone's trying to ring you up and you're on your
but whenever
headphones
you're checking out at your local comic book store,
you have it on the car. I don't know what your setup
take
is.
Take out your earbud, put it into the ear hole of the person checking out at the comics book store. They're going to love it, and they're going to love
this pod is great. He's hard selling again. Dan, do we have anything else? Are we good?
Nothing. We got nothing else.
People could write in, though, Dan. We haven't gotten any listener mail in a while, right? So if you want listener mail, which we will read on air unless you specifically say don't read it on air, can be sent to theolddoctorwhoshow@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at eGrissom. You can follow Dan on Twitter at DanJNJ.
Yep.
And that same name for me is my Instagram, and I think it's the same for Dan for his Instagram. And Dan's waving. He's waving excitedly.
I just wanted to say hi.
What is it?
No, we actually did get a couple of emails, and I
there you go.
About that.
See that?
Our friend Chuck wrote to us to tell us about another place where people listen to podcasts on the app Podcast Addict. Apparently there are some
Podcast
reviews
Addict.
there. I haven't actually gone through and taken a look at that, but he did send a helpful screenshot of some 4- and 5-star reviews. I don't know what the 4-star reviews are doing there, but hey, this is great.
A mistake. Someone click, you can accidentally hit with your finger the wrong
It happens.
It happens all the time.
Fat finger it. But thank you for pointing us in that direction. We got our friend Hare the Hound did write us an email, and because you wrote, we have to read it. So this just came in a couple hours ago, which is why I didn't notice it before. He says, trying to cover his tracks, Dear Dan and Eric, first off, kudos to you, brave and beautiful adventurers, for taking on the quest for the Keys of Marinus. I'm imagining you dressed up as Altos and Sabitha. You look sensational.
They are a very good-looking group.
It's a good-looking
especially
pair.
when he starts blinking again, because he creeps you out completely the first time you meet him. But then you're like, oh, he's a regular human when he starts blinking. And Sabitha was wonderful. She, I actually thought one of them, like I sort of knew because we did whatever the Aztecs or the Romans or whatever follows this. I thought they are almost like being prepped to be companions. But then, we don't. Yeah. They stay. But they are very attractive people. I would agree with that.
Yeah, of course. As the script had to be written on short notice, the decision to make a series of mini-adventures sort of makes sense, and a puzzle piece story is always fun. The fact that the program changes time period, setting, and genre with every story is already challenging enough, given... Well, I don't think it changes... time period, because they
make a point of saying it only goes
through space
and not time.
So there, Conrad. anyway, sorry. Look, we got one thing right after 7 years. Anyway, Sorry. Setting a genre with every story is already challenging enough given lack of time and budget, but to change location every week is both insane and impressive. You have to admire the risk-taking ambition, and overall, I think the story pulls it off with a few highlights. Mm-hmm. Number 1, Marinus with Acid Seas and model work. Please can we have a Dan gif of a cardboard cutout being thrown down a well? Yeah, apparently whenever he throws the Vord over into the pit, you can see that it's
just a standee.
Piece of it's a standee. Which is fine. Yes, I will try to make that happen. Number 2, I love the Vord. Incredibly, in 2021, the year of our Lord,
yes,
they brought out an action figure set.
Oh, they did?
And it's in the email here. This is effing ridiculous. A figure set of Ian with 2 Vord.
Wait, what? That sounds like something I shouldn't be Googling.
You absolutely should be. It is delightful. I will.
Cool.
Here. Hang on one second here, Eric.
That's always been the dream that they're just going to start sending us action figures, right? I mean, that's why we got into this game.
It's the only reason I want to do this.
Yeah.
Let's see if I got the right one here. Can I share this? Are you?
I don't know.
No?
Are you sharing a video thing on an audio podcast? It's fine.
Forget it. Good point.
I just saw your desktop. That's what I'm looking at, a tree.
Oh, okay. It's not showing anything. Cool.
All right,
cool.
keep going.
Okay,
it's
great.
too late. Pull out.
Okay. To have action figures of a one-off monster from a black and white serial made 58 years ago is wild, and the figures are fantastic. The kinky, stabby bastards. So you see actually the figures of the Vords look awesome. They have little knives, but that looks nothing like Ian. It's fantastic. I'll put this up on the Twitter page. Actually, I think it's on our timeline as well. Added there. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's see. Barbara Wright. If there's one thing that pulls this whole story together and never lets us down, it's Barbara. Always bringing class and integrity to everything she does.
Agreed.
Whether fighting off horribly inappropriate storylines, smashing up morpho brains, or just dealing with Susan on a daily basis. Jacqueline Hall stands out as one of the best companions and greatest actors in Who to this day. What a legend. Could not agree more.
I agree with
Barbara
all of
stands. Barbara stands in the house. Lastly says, can't wait to hear what you think of this one. According to the schedule, it looks like you'll finish classic Doctor Who around September. Oh, God, the chains will be unloosed on September.
Wait, we're going to be done in September?
Hey, I didn't do the math. I'm just listening.
Is that really true?
I'm just relying on our listeners. I'm glad to hear you're thinking about what to do next, as TODW Show was my first podcast.
Wow,
I'm not sure I'm going to cope without it. Wow, we set that bar real high for you, didn't we?
I'm going to the schedule page. I always forget to link up that listen link. Like, we don't have a listen link for Creature from the Pit. But yeah, I guess we don't have that many episodes left. Look at that. We're on number 124, and we go to 135. So that probably checks out. September. Interesting.
Hey, check your messages real quick there.
Oh.
So you can see what I'm seeing. And that, honestly,
Do
it looks...
you see what I see? Ian is born. Wait, where is the...
Looks nothing like Mr. Ian.
I can't see anything.
Well, neither can our listeners.
It's fine. Oh, I see it right there. Yes. He looks like he can sell you some insurance. Yeah, that does that. Well, I mean, a little bit. I can see
it would have been better.
A little bit in the face. This is like middle manager Ian. But the Vord are very cool.
They look great. If they had put Ian in the kimono instead, the
yes.
Marco Polo Chinese kimono. I guess it's not kimono. I think it was a Chinese sort of.
I like the little symbols on the top of the Vord's head. I never really noticed that they were different per. I guess the leader had the triangle, right? Or did he have the circle? But it feels very like Squid Game. That's cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's it. So you can always send us again emails to theolddoctorwhoshow@gmail.com. Tweet us at TODW Show. Also on Instagram at TODW Show, where we'll put more of the GIFs. As mentioned before, you'll be able to see those on our Twitter timeline.
Yep.
But if you go to theolddoctorwhoshow.com, you'll see all of our stories there. And each story page has a GIF gallery of usually dozens of GIFs. I only put a few on Twitter to tease you. But yeah, if you want to see more of them, that's where you'll find them. That's it. That's all we got.
That's awesome. We're done. We finished it. We're done with the show. No, we're not done with the show. We're done with Hartnell. And then next time we're going to talk, or you and I will talk, we'll be talking Planet of the Spiders. So it's Pertwee. We're going into Pertwee Town.
Can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's pretty much Pertwee and Tom Baker, and then just Pertwee, and then we got to do that movie, Daleks' Invasion of Earth. Yeah, and then we're done.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
All right, goodbye.
That's the weirdest anticlimactic bullshit.
Where's my robot, you know?